What's going on, everybody? The Original Mako back with some more Loop Hero content, and it's safe to say that right now I'm kind of addicted to the game. I've had it for 2 days, and I've played it for probably about, I think it's 15, 16 hours. Now, that being said, this is the honeymoon phase since I just got the game, so that could fall off very quickly, but while I'm enjoying it, I'm going to be making a lot of content on it, and today we have the ultimate guide to the Necromancer, one of the classes you can play, the class I've been having the most fun with by far, and there's a really, really good combo of cards in your deck that just work so well with the Necromancer. And a couple of important things to note that you might not know going into the game, or if you just unlock the Necromancer. A few important tips, because the wording on some stuff is a little bit weird. So, that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, be sure to hit that subscribe button. There's going to be more Gunfire content, more Loop Hero content, more all sorts of content coming at you guys. And check out the Twitch link in the description. I'm live Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and sometimes on Sundays, playing Gunfire, Loop Hero, other roguelikes, Smite, Valheim, just a ton of good content, and it's always chill and fun in there, so check that out. That being said, let's go ahead and hop in to this Necromancer guide, shall we? So, I don't have everything unlocked yet, alright? I still have, a couple more things here, the river, lumberjack, war camp, a couple things still to unlock. That being said, I have found a build that works super well with the Necromancer. So if you don't have the Necromancer yet, the way to get him is to work your way through the upgrades and get the Crypt unlocked. The Crypt will unlock the Necromancer, and it also unlocks one of the golden cards, the Ancestral Crypt. Only if you have the Intel Center also unlocked. But even if you don't have the Intel Center yet, as soon as you get it, the gold card, you'll be able to add it to the deck. So I recommend rushing the Crypt upgrade, mainly because the Necromancer is just so fun to play. But let's go ahead and hop into what the deck is going to look like and why the deck is going to be what it is. So let's start with the Necromancer class. If you don't know what it is, the Necromancer summons skeletons that fight instead of their master. Number and power of skeletons depend on the Necromancer's equipment and skills. Additional class stats. So we'll go over these real quick because there's a couple of nuances here. Attack speed. This stat is borderline the most important stat that your hero has. The faster the attack speed, the faster you are going to summon the skeletons to fight for you. That's humongous. You definitely want that. Evade is nice. Obviously, evade just gives you a higher chance to evade. It does not affect your skeletons. That is for you. It does not affect your skeletons. Summon quality. That affects the quality of the skeleton you're going to summon. There's 3 different types of melee skeletons and 2 different types of ranged skeletons. The 3 different types of melee, there's a basic, there's like a high damage, low health, and then there's like a tank one that forces all the enemies to attack it and has a lot higher health. Doesn't do a ton of damage, but the high damage, low health one and the tank, it increases the chances that those are going to spawn instead of the basic one. Regeneration is obviously just your health regenerating, not skeletons. Once again, regeneration only affects you. And then defense affects your defense, the hero's defense, not the skeletons. Skeleton's power is where skeleton's health and attack will scale with each time the skeleton's power goes up. So, as you can also see down here, you get a book as your weapon, 2 rings, and an amulet as the 3 different types of things, or as the different types of gear you can equip. Before we get into the cards, another very important thing about the Necromancer. You're going to have low health, and that's fine. Because A, your skeletons are going to take a lot of damage for the most part. Sometimes you get a little bit unlucky with RNG and the enemies attack you. But the amulet. The main stat that an amulet gives is magic health. Magic health is essentially a shield with however much health the amulet's giving you that resets every time you go into a fight. So unless that shield goes down, your magic health gets drained to 0, your character is not going to take any damage. So once again, it's important that it's magic health, not just normal health. It's like basically a shield that resets each fight, which is very important. So that being said, let's go ahead and hop into the deck build here. I actually need to turn that on also. So like I said, I don't have every card unlocked. I don't have everything unlocked, but I have a lot of stuff, and this is a very basic but 100% effective. I don't care what other cards you can get. This build works really, really well. So, two of the big things, Desert and Forest, are the two environmental cards that you want to have. The Rock, giving your hero more health, is kind of a waste of time because, once again, health typically isn't going to be very important. Okay, same reason why we don't have Meadows, because healing your character's health, that's not going to be nearly as useful as the Desert and the Forest. So how do we get the Desert and the Forest? Let me show you guys real quick. If I recall, the Forest card you unlock from the Forest here. And then the Desert, oh boy, this is going to be... Is it the Smelter, Arsenal, Craft, Rogue, the Village... Sand Dune. Okay, Desert and Sand Dunes is the Intel Center. So you're going to get the Intel Center first and get this Desert. And then right after that, I would go for the Forest. If you're planning on playing the Necromancer, I would try to get these two unlocked ASAP after unlocking the Necromancer. Let's go back. So the Desert, what does it do? The Desert lowers every creature's health by 0.5%. The Sand Dunes, it's not going to let me hover it. But Sand Dunes lower every creature's health by 1%, a full percent. These are a big deal because, A, this does not affect your magical HP from the amulet. It will affect your hero's health, but it doesn't affect the magical HP. So your magical HP is still going to be a shield, still going to be at full mast, and all of the enemies will lose their health by however many Sand Dunes and Deserts you have. Also, I'm about 95% sure it does not affect your summoned skeletons either, making this just a 100% in your favor card and is 100% meant to be used with the Necromancer. So, the Desert you want to have in there. The Forest, next up. Forest adds 1% hero attack speed, and the Thicket that you can see hovering to the side adds 2% hero attack speed for each one that you have. Once again, attack speed means you're going to be summoning these skeletons faster. The faster you summon skeletons, the more damage you're going to do, the quicker you get out of a fight, and the higher chance that the enemies are going to choose to attack one of your skeletons instead of you, or the higher chance, if you have good summoning quality, you're going to get a tank that forces the enemies to attack it, so you don't have to take any damage at all. The Forest and Thicket are amazing. You can get up to, not to mention that the armor and rings and whatnot can drop with attack speed increases, so you can get up to some pretty crazy attack speed. And it's just, you'll be summoning things very, very quickly with the Forest in here. So Desert and Forest are the two environmental cards you want to have. Next, we'll go with the road, or the roadside cards. Or are these these are the roadside cards. These are the road cards. What are these? These are just the free cards, I guess. Treasury you want to have. It's really good for getting you resources. You want to surround it with either the Desert or the Forest to get different resources. So Treasury is just always a good one to have. There's no like downside into having it. The Beacon you want to have because 40% movement speed within its range, fine, whatever, but 20% attack speed for all units. Yes, your enemies are going to get buffed, but the 20% attack speed buff is way more beneficial to you when you're playing on the Necromancer. So you definitely want to have that Beacon in your deck so you can pump your hero's attack speed to just the highest levels that you can possibly get. And then obviously having an Oblivions in your deck are really important, because if you run into trouble and you're like, oh crap, there's 4 skeletons on the tile in front of me, and then there's 4 scorch worms next to it, so I'm gonna have to deal with like 8 enemies at once here. You can Oblivion one of the tiles, only have to deal with 4 of them. It's just a good kind of get out of jail free card, if we're gonna relate this to Monopoly terms. So those are the cards you want to have in the free section. Storm Temple is the exact opposite of a card you want to have. Strikes 2 random targets in its range with lightning every 5 seconds, cannot be evaded, and effects of multiple temples can stack. Not bad if you're playing Rogue or Warrior, because chances are there's going to be more enemies, more than just one enemy. So it's a higher likelihood that the lightning is going to strike the enemies instead of you. But on the Necromancer, since you're summoning things all the time, you also have a lot of things. So there's a high chance your things could get hit. So you don't want to run Storm Temple, but Treasury, Beacon, Oblivion, all good things to run. Next, we'll go to the Roadside Cards. Road Lantern is the first one I'm going to have, just because it's another somewhat of a get out of jail free card. If you see like a tile that has 4 enemies and you're like, oh crap, I can't really deal with that right now, toss down a Road Lantern, lower the amount of enemies to 3, and hopefully you're able to deal with 3 instead of 4. That can make a huge difference. Battlefield, usually just good for spawning chests, because chests can obviously give you decent loot. So having a Battlefield's always nice. Chrono Crystals are in here for a very, very specific purpose. With the forest, once you get, just like with the mountains, once you get 10 mountains, a goblin camp spawns. Once you get 10 forests, there's a there's a tile that spawns on the road called a village ? Not this. It's a space village ? And it spawns on the road. And every 2 days, a wood golem spawns there. When that happens, if you have a chrono crystal, put it in range of that village, because it'll double the effect of a day's passing on the tiles, which means more wood golems will spawn. So hopefully every time you go to that tile, there will be 4 wood golems. Why is that a big deal? Wood golems do not attack you. They will counter every single attack, but they will not attack you. So, since your skeletons are doing all the attacking, not you, unless you have your skeletons, unless you have the maximum amount of skeletons on the field at once, but that's unlikely to happen in this scenario, because since the wood golems are always hitting your skeletons back, they're going to be dying a lot. So you're never going to hit the wood golem more often than not, which means it's literally a free XP, free loot, free cards, because there's very little chance you take any damage, and if you do, it's going to be minimal. So you want to have as many of those as you can to farm for XP or resources or cards or loot or whatever it is. So Chrono Crystals play a very, very specific purpose, and that's the only time I have used them. Blood Grove is also not a bad idea. If you're familiar playing on one of the higher chapters, Scorch Worms from the Ruins can instead of dying, just kind of disappear, which means you don't get any loot, you don't get any experience, even though you had to fight the creature still. Blood Grove prevents them from escaping. They will never escape if you have Blood Grove. So if you're finding that to be annoying or a problem, or you're just running a lot of ruins, Blood Grove's not a bad idea. Obviously, to play Blood Grove, you have to be playing Grove. And then the road cards, I have a decent amount of these up, because obviously the more that you can get, the more enemies that are going to spawn in, the more loot, stuff like that. Cemetery for skeletons. Village, because sometimes, obviously they give you a quest, which is nice. Quests gives you better gear, more XP and whatnot. But your hero will take damage occasionally, and having a couple villages down as kind of a safety net for your healing is just a good thing to have. The wheat fields to go with the villages to make sure to get the villages to heal more. Also, they spawn some enemies. The Grove for rat wolves every couple of days, just a nice medium enemy to kill, and then runes that summon Scorch Worms. Now, one of the big things I will say about the road cards is try to avoid at just about all costs. In a perfect world, you would have the ruins, sorry, spaced out so they're not next to any other roadside tile. Unless it's a wheat field. Or unless it's a village, sorry. Any of the ones that spawn enemies, try to keep the runes away from, because the scorched worms on their own, when you run into a tile that has the scorched worms on it, they're not a problem. They're archers, which means they do less damage when you're on their tile. But if you're on a tile next to them, they will be attacking you. So if you have 4 scorched worms on a tile and then like 3 skeletons from a cemetery, you have to deal with the skeletons, which are hard to kill because their defense is so high. And you have the scorched worms shooting at you and you can do nothing about it the whole time. So I would try to avoid putting them, if possible, next to wheat fields, groves, cemeteries, or if you're running swamps. But specifically the cemeteries, because skeletons and scorched worms do not go well together. If you have to put them next to some of the other ones, fine, that's not as big of a deal, but definitely ruins and cemeteries, try to keep them split up. Personally, I haven't found a huge difference in like what to run for road cards. I don't know if it's better to run less. I've been trying to move some stuff around. All I know is that the swamp, I haven't found a good use quite yet. So it spawns a mosquito every 3 days, and all healing effects are lethal here. So if you have regen per second, it's lethal. If you have vampirism on the warrior, lethal. Any sort of, or on the rogue or warrior, lethal. Any sort of healing that's not a potion hurts you. It also hurts enemies. So maybe run that next to like a vampire hut or something, so vampires hurt themselves. Or a vampire mansion, not a hut. Potentially there's a little combo there, but nothing I've experimented with yet, and I definitely don't think it's worth it on the Necromancer when there's just a better overall build here. Maybe you could drop the villages. Once again, those aren't a huge deal, the village and the wheat field, but I found this set of core cards to work extremely well. And then for the gold cards, so I only have 2 unlocked right now. The Arsenal, which creates an additional item slot and lowers item quality by 15%. So each of them have a really good ability, but also a really bad downside. Obviously, item quality going down is a pretty big deal, but if you do this on the Necromancer, it will give you it'll give you a shield. You're allowed to use a shield, so you can pump your Necromancer's defense, but once again, that's not typically a huge deal. But the Ancestral Crypt was literally made for the Necromancer and has 0 downside when you're using him. So, you get 3 health for every enemy with a soul that is killed. If you hover over an enemy in the fight, it'll tell you if it has a soul or not. Basically, I guess out of the things here, the Rat Wolves have a soul, the Scorch Worms have a soul. I actually don't 100% know about Scarecrows. Skeletons do not. Slimes do not. But I'm not sure about Scarecrows. Either way, every time you kill something with a soul, you get extra 3 HP. It removes the health bonus from armor. Bingo, the Necromancer doesn't wear armor. It wears an amulet that gives magic health, but not actual health. So, the removing HP bonus from armor means nothing. That does not affect the Necromancer at all, which is supposed to be the downside. And you get one resurrection after the hero's death. So, you could potentially, if you get lucky with your level ups in the game, if you get the, what are they called? The level ups, when you level up, you get a certain thing. Oh God, I totally forget what it is now. What it's called. Anyways, there's one that you can get that gives you an extra resurrection. So, you can potentially have 2, count them, 1, 2, on your fingers. Hold up your first finger, index finger, 1. Hold up your second finger, your middle finger, 2 resurrections. And there's literally no drawback to it. So, definitely massive to have in the deck. I literally was just doing a run and I was on like loop 11, and I just stopped because it'd been going for so long, and I was like, I need to make a video on this. But like things were going so well, everything was working how I wanted it to work. It's definitely a build that you're going to want to run because it can kind of help you, kind of save you from some of the RNG elements in this game. Like, even if you're not getting great loot, you should be able to kill things fast enough and live long enough to the point to where you actually get the loot you're looking for. So if you want to play the Necromancer, this is definitely a good build that you will want to have. And I hope that I kind of explained how the Necromancer works well enough, some of the nuances with how his class stuff works. Attack speed, evade, summon quality, regeneration, defense, skeleton's power. Just so you guys know that like defense, regeneration, evade does not affect your skeletons. Only and attack speed doesn't affect them either. That only affects your hero. Skeleton's power and summon quality are the two that affect your skeletons. Also, quick note, summon quality, if you go over 100%, gives you no additional benefits. So if you get to 100%, adding more on top of it isn't going to like, there's no additional benefits you can gain from it. So just keep that in mind as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully I gave you a good insight to the build, why I'm running these cards. But if you want to kind of venture on your own thing, you think you might have something that might work a little bit better. Maybe there's some cards I don't have unlocked yet that'll work. Hopefully I explained the class of a Necromancer well enough for you guys to use that to your advantage when building your decks. That being said, if there's anything I'm missing, anything I left out, anything you guys know about the Necromancer that maybe I didn't mention, please let me know in the comments down below. I've been having a ton of fun playing this game, and honestly, at the time you guys are watching this, I'm probably live on Twitch right now. If you want to come check me out, I'm probably playing this. But yeah, I've been enjoying it a lot. A lot of in-depth stuff for such a simplistic game, and the Necromancer has been so much fun to play. Definitely the most time played with the Necromancer. I don't know if that's in my statistics. Wow, I completed the Lich and the Princess, or the Priestess, in the same amount of loops. That's crazy. I don't think it says. No, it doesn't. Oh well. I've been having a lot of fun. Hopefully soon I will have a in-depth sort of build or an in-depth class overview for the Rogue and Warrior as well. These are the only 3 classes in the game right now. There are going to be more coming. I shouldn't say soon. There are going to be more coming at some point in the game. But yeah, so hopefully a Rogue one coming soon, a Warrior one coming soon, maybe some different Necromancer builds if I find some new cards I want to try out. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I tried to be as in-depth and detailed as possible, just to give you guys. If you have any more questions, also leave those in the comments. I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. Oh, wait, real quick. Oh, I forgot. Trinkets. So if you have the trinkets, which you will, if you've got all these other things, important things to note: the cheese, 1 HP after killing an enemy. It will not work on the Necromancer because the Necromancer himself has to kill the enemy for it to count, and that's not going to happen very often. So try to avoid running cheese or any other things like that. Like this, +2 hero damage against all undead. That does not affect your skeletons. That only affects the Necromancer himself, so not a great thing to have. Shoe nails. Attackers receive 1 damage after every hit. That's only if they hit you. Not as good to have. Antique wardrobe. 5 health every time it equips a new item. Not bad. Could run it. Right now, I'm just running increases the chance of finding a rare item. Get some more resources. 5 health at the start of each day. Actually, I should unequip that and equip that. I think that's a better option. 2 max health for every point of defense the hero has. -4 damage from all vampires. And increased damage done to bosses. So nothing that only affects my hero other than like the health. But considering the trinkets I have, the artifacts I have, that's about all I can do at this point. So yeah, just try to look for those keywords of like hero, like anything that gives you more damage. Just know it's not going to affect your skeletons. And actually, while I'm on the topic, I want to talk about two really, really good traits, especially for the second boss. Other than the extra resurrection, obviously, some other good traits when you level up are the horde, where every time you loop, you get 3 strong zombies to follow you. They don't just last for one fight; they will last until they die. That pairs really well with the trait that says if your skeleton kills an enemy, it's restored to full health and its damage is increased for that fight. So if your big skeletons, your horde skeletons, kill an enemy, they go back to full health and they'll stay with you a lot longer. Huge starting a fight with 3 skeletons instead of having to spawn in 3. Another really good one is a 20% chance to spawn an extra skeleton at the end. Even if your max skeleton stat is at like 5, you want this because it's, especially on the second boss, you're going to want as many skeletons as possible. The more the merrier, as they say. So a couple of traits that are really good to use on the Necromancer as well. Those are the ones that I've found to be the most useful. If you're planning on having a lot of those a village question marks happen with the free enemies to kill, the trait that every time one of your skeletons dies, you heal is also really good because your skeletons will die a lot in that fight. So a couple more things to think about. But that being said, this is now the end of the video for the complete guide to the Necromancer in Loop Hero. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate the support. I love each and every one of your faces. And I will catch you guys in the next video.